माधव जय कुंज बिहारी।
जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी।
जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी।
जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी।
यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन।
यशोदानंदन व्रज 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 जनरंजन।
जमुना तीरा वनचारी।
यमुना तीरा वनचारी।
जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी।
जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी।
हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे रामा राम राम हरे हरे, हरे
हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे।
हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे।
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे।
जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 प्रभुपाद।
जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 प्रभुपाद।
जय जय गुरुदेव श्रीपाद गुरुदेव श्रीपाद।
जय जय गुरुदेव श्रीपाद गुरुदेव श्रीपाद।
जय जय श्री राधा माधव भगवान की
जय
जय। जय लक्ष्मी नरसिंह भगवान की जय।
जय
गौर निताई की जय। जय जगत गुरु श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय। पतित पावन श्रीपाद महाराज की जय। अनंत वैष्णव वृंद की जय।
जय।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
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 नारायणं नमस्कृत्य
नारायणं नमस्कृत्य
नरं चैव नरोत्तमं
नरं चैव नरोत्तमं
देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं
देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं
ततो जयमुदीरयेत्।
ततो जयमुदीरये।
नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु
नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु
नित्यं भागवत सेवया
नित्यं भागवत सेवया
भगवती उत्तम श्लोके
भगवती उत्तम श्लोके
भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी.
भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी.
Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 14, verse number 5. मुक्तानामपि सिद्धानां
मुक्तानामपि सिद्धानां
नारायणपरायणः
नारायणपरायण
सुदुर्लभः प्रशान्तात्मा
दुर्लभ प्रशान्तात्मा
कोटिष्वपि महामुने.
कोटिष्वपि महामुने.
मुक्तानामपि सिद्धानां
मुक्तानामपि सिद्धानां
नारायणपरायणः
नारायणपरायण
सुदुर्लभः प्रशान्तात्मा
दुर्लभ प्रशान्तात्मा
कोटिष्वपि महामुने.
कोटिष्वपि महामुने.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada, Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. O great sage, among many millions who are liberated and perfect in knowledge of liberations, one may be a devotee of Lord Narayan or Krishna. Such devotees who are fully peaceful are extremely rare. Purport, it's a long purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives the following purport to this verse. Simply desiring mukti or liberation is insufficient. One must become factually liberated. When one understands the futility of the materialistic way of life, one becomes advanced in knowledge and therefore he situates himself in the Vanaprastha order, unattached to family, wife, and children. One should then further progress to the platform of sannyas, the actual renounced order, never to fall again and be afflicted by materialistic life. Even though one desires to be liberated, this does not mean that he is liberated. Only rarely someone liberated. Indeed, although many men take sannyas to become liberated because of their imperfections, they again become attached to women, material activities, social welfare work, and so on. Sanatan Prabhuji, can you please mute others except me? Gyanis, yogis, and karmis, devoid of devotional service, are called offenders. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Mayavadi Krishna Apradhi. One who thinks that everything is Maya instead of thinking that everything is Krishna is called an Apradhi or offender. Although the Mayavadis impersonalists are offenders at the lotus feet of Krishna, they may nonetheless be counted among the Siddhas, those who have realized the self. They may be considered nearer to spiritual perfection because at least they have realized what spiritual life is. If such a person becomes Narayana Parayana, a devotee of Lord Narayan, he is better than a Jivan Mukta, one who is liberated or perfect. This requires higher intelligence. There are two kinds of Gyanis. One is inclined to devotional service and the other to impersonal realization. Impersonalists generally undergo great endeavor for no tangible benefit, and therefore it is said that they are husking paddy that has no grain. Sthula tushava ghatinaha. The other class of jnanis, whose jnana is mixed with bhakti, are also of two kinds. Those who are devoted to the so-called false form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and those who understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Satchidananda Vigraha, the actual spiritual form. The Mayavadi devotees worship Narayana Vishnu with the idea that Vishnu has accepted a form of Maya and that the ultimate truth is actually impersonal. The pure devotee, however, never thinks that Vishnu has accepted a body of Maya. Instead, he knows perfectly well that the original absolute truth is the Supreme Person. Such a devotee is actually situated in knowledge. He never merges in the Brahman effulgence. He never merges in the Brahman effulgence, as stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 2, Text 32. Yanne Arvindaksha Vimuktam Maninas Tvai Astabhavad Avishuddha Buddhayaha Aruyah Krishna Param Padam Tataha Patanti Adho Anadrita Yushmad Angrayaha. O Lord, the intelligence of those who think themselves liberated but who have no devotion is impure. Even though they rise to the highest point of liberation by dint of severe penances and austerities, they are sure to fall down again into material existence, for they do not take shelter at a lotus feet. Evidence of this same point is also given in Bhagavad Gita 9:11, wherein Lord says, Avajananti mamu mudha manushim tanum ashritam param bhavam ajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. Fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature and my supreme dominion over all that be. When rascals, mudhas, see that Krishna acts exactly like a human being, they deride the transcendental form of the Lord because they do not know the Param Bhavam, his transcendental form and activities. Such persons are further described in Bhagavad Gita 9:12 as follows: Moghash Moghasha Mogha Karmano Mogha Jnana Vichetasaha Rakchasim Asurim Chaiva Prakritim Mohinim Sritaha. Those who are thus bewildered are attracted by demoniac and atheistic views. In that deluded condition, their hopes for liberation, their fruitive activities, and their culture of knowledge are all defeated. Such persons do not know that Krishna's body is non material. There is no distinction between Krishna's body and his soul, but because less intelligent men see Krishna as a human being, they deride him. They cannot imagine how a person like Krishna could be the origin of everything. Govindamadi Purusham Tam Aham Bhajami. Such persons are described as Moga Shaha, baffled in their hopes. Whatever they desire for the future will be baffled. Even if they apparently engage in devotional service, they are described as Moga Shaha because they ultimately desire to merge into the Brahman effulgence. Those who aspire to be elevated to the heavenly planets by devotional service will also be frustrated because this is not a result of devotional service. However, they are also given a chance to engage in devotional service and be purified, as stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, Text 17. Srinivatam swakatha Krishnaha punya shravana kirtanaha hridiyantah sthohi abhadrani vibhunoti suhrit satam. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is Paramatma, super soul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who relishes his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Unless the dirt within the core of one's heart is cleansed away, one cannot become a pure devotee. Therefore, the word Sudurlabha, very rarely found, is used in this verse. Not only among hundreds and thousands, but among millions of perfectly liberated souls of pure devotees hardly ever found. Therefore, the words Kotishvapi are used herein. Srila Madhvacharya gives the following quotations from the Tantra Bhagavat. Navakotiyastu devanam rishaya saptakotayah Narayana Narayana Sarve Narayana Narayanaha Sarve Ye kechit tat parayanaha. There are 90 million demigods and 70 million sages who are all called Narayanayana, devotees of Lord Narayan. Among them, only a few are called Narayan Parayana. So, Narayanayana Deva Rishiyadyas Tatparayana Brahmadyaha Kechaneva Syuh Siddho Yogya Sukham Labhan. The difference between the Siddhas and Narayana Parayanas is that direct devotees are called Narayana Parayanas, whereas those who perform various types of mystic yoga, they are called as Siddhas. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjansalakya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Swarupa Damodar Swaminiti Namine Nama Bhaktamanaya Manipurudbhavaya Cha Prabhupada Lasadvani Prachara Niritayate Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityanand Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. I like to beg mercy from everyone, and I like to offer my most humble obeisances to all the Maharajis, all the Vaishnavas, Vaishnavis, everyone present in this meeting, and I'll request him to bless me profusely so that I can share the beautiful message and very confidential message in the translation and purport. So, with that intention, I made this humble PPT, and I hope this PPT is visible. The it's visible.
Yeah, yeah, yes, Prabhu.
Okay. The PPT is entitled as Narayan Parayana. Subtitle is not from the leak. So Narayan Parayana is very rare. That is the basically that is, and he's not from the league. And what is that league and why is he rare? We'll see later. But that's the real essence of this shloka. This PPT is dedicated to my Guru Maharaj, Shripad Maharaj. Rarer than the rarest. You see, in the previous shloka, the word Sahasreshu was used. Sahasreshu means thousands. In today's shloka, Kotishva. Kotishva means millions, trillions. Kotishva. So he is rarer than the rarest. This Mumukta Nam, or people who achieve liberation, or they are in the liberated state. Liberated state means Prabhupada has translated that as one who has got liberation from the attachment to his family, household life, and all those things. That is the meaning of liberation. Muktanam is this is a very, very severe attachment to household life, attachment to relatives, friends, and all these, all these bandhan. One who gets liberated from this household life actually is very rare, and out of that, those extremely rare people, among thousands of such extremely rare liberated people, a few will get siddhya. Siddhya means Prabhupada has translated as one who understands the importance of liberation, number one, or number two, who knows the essence of soul, and the soul tattva. That's the soul tattva, Brahman tattva. So that is Siddhya. So this Siddhya is rare. But how rare is Narayan Parayana? That is Kotishvapi. He is even rarer. Kotishva api, right? Uh, Not in thousands, but millions and trillions. That is Narayan Parayana. Muktanam api siddhanam Narayana Parayana. Sudurlabha prashantatma kotishvapi mahamune. That is the idea. So we can compare these two shlokas. So let us see. So he is rarer than the rarest. He is not in the league. I could not find a better word than league. So there is this set of practitioners, sadhak, who want to practice. Okay, practitioners means any sadhak, all the sadhak, all the Mayavadis, all the Nirvisheshvaldi Vadis, and all these so-called these spirituality practitioners. They are called. Let's call them. Let's refer to them with this huge circle, huge set. Then this subset, very few of them will actually attain the concept of liberation. Okay, so these are liberation achievers. That's a subset, and that itself is very rare. So this shloka is there, na? Jivan mukta api punar bandhanha yanti karma bhi yadi achintya mahashakto. Okay, this is Bhagavati aparadhinaha. So the translation is the Jivan Mukta again become bound by karma if they commit offense to the Lord, possessor of inconceivably great energies. So all these Jivan Mukta, all these Mukta people, they do not go further, deeper because they commit offenses to the Lord. और मायावादी तो हैं ही अपराधी और इसके ऊपर all these other spirituality practitioners, if they commit offense against Vaishnavas, then it's back to square one. Everything is doomed. And so therefore, not everyone makes it. So even a smaller set is this achievers of perfection, perfection achievers. This perfection is not our perfection, the real perfection. This perfection is their perfection. Siddhi, which means perfection means here, perfection would mean or the siddhi would mean the discernment or the knowledge of the difference between spirit and matter. That much only. So these are very rare people. So where will the Narayana Parayana would be? So there are two ways to understand this. So suppose if I say that now I just thought of this example. This can be actually a bad example. Suppose if I say that let's say khichdi, right? Khichdi is a specialized right item. Then better than khichdi is pulao. Better than pulao is saffron rice and all these things. Better, better, better. All these things. They're all salty items. And so where will you place in this ascending order? Let's say, where will you place gajar halwa, right? So where will you place in this ascending order? If you see carefully, this gajar halwa does not belong to this order in the first place, right? Khichdi is a different rice item. It is a salty item. Or we are talking of that the order among the salty rice items. But carrot halwa is not a rice item. It is definitely not salty. So it does not belong to the league, right? So it is a completely different, it is beyond this. ascending order, beyond this sequence. So therefore, you would be, people would be tempted to place this Narayana Parayana somewhere here, even a smaller subset. But what I say, what acharyas say, he is a completely different, separate, separate entity, Narayan Parayana, and he's like separate, glorified in all his glories. He's separated separately, right? He's not in the league, not in this list. One meaning is this, because all these perfection achievers, siddha, when they go deeper and deeper and they practice even further, they attain sayuji mukti. And none from this set of achievers of sayuji mukti can become devotees. They are two mutually exclusive things. So one who has achieved sayuji mukti, how can he become devotee? Therefore, Narayana Parayana is a separate entity. So here, uh, the idea is among the Jivan Mukta, devotee is extremely rare. This is the idea. And this is a wrong idea. The correct idea is compared to Jivan Muktas, devotee is extremely rare. This is one another translation of this shloka. Muktanam api. So compared to Jivan Muktas, api, and compared to these Jivan Muktas, compared to these definitely Siddhas and all these people, devotees are extremely rare, right? That does not mean among them. Devotees are so rare because devotees are superior to all these classes of these people. This is called a genitive case, which is not true in this case, in this first explanation. And this ablative case is true. Ablative case means compared to Jivan Muktas, devotee is extremely rare. In ablative case, we make these comparisons. In genitive, it's general. It's not, what I meant to say, this Narayan Parayana is not a special perfection achiever. No, no. Narayan Parayana is a completely different class, completely different person. Like how the sun cannot be counted among all the planets are actually dark. But the sun is only effulgent planet in the middle universe, right? That's the idea. Muktanam api siddhanam narayana parayanaha sudurlabha prashantatma kotishvapi mahamune. Kotishvapi mahamune. And now we'll see the second explanation. You see, there are two types of knowledge, Gyan. This is Keval Gyan and Bhakti Mishrit Gyan. So we'll sail through the next slides very carefully. Please, all eyes be glued on your screen. So Gyan is there. Just a second, Gyan. And then the Gyan, there are two kinds of Gyan, Keval Gyan and Bhakti Mishrit Gyan. Okay, in Keval Gyan, there is no Bhakti element. And Bhakti Mishrit Gyan, Bhakti is there. Okay. And all the devotees, they must know the difference between Bhakti Mishrit Gyan and Gyan Mishrit Bhakti. The difference between Bhakti Mishrit Karma and Karma Mishrit Bhakti. So they must know all these things. So here we're talking about Bhakti Mishrit Gyan. Now, Keval Gyan is futile for liberation because the Bhakti element is not there, liberation will not be achieved. Even the liberation also, even for this liberation think. These people, they have to depend on little bhakti. So this shloka is there. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 14, Text 4. Shreha sritim bhaktim udasyate vibho क्लिश्यन्ति ये केवलबोधलब्धये तेषाम् असौ क्लेशाला एव शिष्यते तेषाम् असौ क्लेशला एव शिष्यते नान्यद् यथा स्थूला तुषाव घातिनाम्. My dear Lord, devotional service unto you is the best path for self-realization. If someone gives up that path and engages in the cultivation of speculative knowledge, he will simply undergo a troublesome process and will not achieve his desired result. As a person who beats an empty husk of wheat cannot get grain, one who simply speculates cannot achieve self realization. His only gain is trouble, klesha. So this is futile. Keval Gyan is futile because there is no bhakti element. It is like beating a beating an empty husk of wheat. What will you get from an empty husk of wheat? Nothing. Only pain and no gain. So generally we say na without pain there is no gain. But imagine this situation where there is pain and no gain. That is very terrible. So these Keval Gyanis, they actually they get nothing. Uh, Liberation also they won't get, right? So little bhakti is important in that. For that, any type of this this prasad in the form mukti, bhukti, siddhi, bhakti is definitely important because all these people, these elements, gyan, karma, and vairagya, they first have to take permission from Bhakti Devi. So Bhakti Devi is the queen. She has to first permit them, and because bhakti element is not there, so bhakti will not give permission to mukti. That is the idea. Now, second is this bhakti mishrit gyan. In this, there are two categories. The first category, first look at the first category. There is no regards for form of Lord, right? There is no regards for form of Lord, which means these Mayavadis. Why? Because they consider the Lord's form is considered material, because they consider that the Lord form is material. They say now that Vishnu is also a product of Maya. His body is also a product of Maya, right? And so therefore such people are apradhi. They are apradhis. So they consider the Lord form as material, and they will not attain liberation, but they think that they have got liberated. They will not attain any liberation. So their situation is also not very different from Keval Gyanis. Bhakti destroys ignorance completely, but only partially produces vidya. So bhakti is there, little bhakti is there, because at least they are chanting the name of Narayana and all these things they are doing. Uh, we have personally visited many such people, such their ashrams. They worship Narayana, but they are Mayavadis. So, but what do they worship? They worship Narayana as they think that this Narayana is a product of Maya. They think that Brahman actually is impersonal, and when that Brahman is superimposed by the effect of Maya, when Maya imposes one of its form, then he comes as Vishnu or Krishna and all this. These people think like this. So there is no regard for the Lord's Sachidanand Vigraha form. So bhakti element is definitely there. So this bhakti destroys their ignorance completely. Ignorance means that they are material, they are matter, this ignorance, and and it produces partial vidya because this their aparad element is there. So this bhakti is there, small bhakti is there, but it is full of offenses, right? So only partial vidya will be produced. What is partial vidya? The discrimination between life and matter. And then, very important, then bhakti disappears because it is not primary bhakti. Remember once I told na primary bhakti and secondary bhakti. Primary bhakti is without offenses. Primary bhakti is the one where bhakti is given the most importance. Primary bhakti is the one where this regard for Lord's form, Lord's devotees, Lord's abode, and all these things are there. But such offensive bhakti, uh, such bhakti, and secondary bhakti and offensive bhakti, that disappears. But Bhakti Devi, being very merciful, she will, before disappearing, she will consider that okay, this person is at least executing some limb of mine in the form of chanting, even though it's greatly offensive. Let me give him some prasad. So that prasad is little vidya, and purging off, the ignorance is purged out, removed, right? So this is the prasad that they get, but that's it. Okay. Here, one point I like to make when I say ignorance, it is this superficial ignorance. The real ignorance is still there. And this vidya, which is partially produced, is also superficial vidya. The real vidya is missing. How can offensive bhakti produce a real vidya? And how can offensive bhakti, or bhakti done offensively, it can remove, that will not remove the ignorance. So without bhakti, the knowledge of Brahman is incomplete because bhakti has disappeared and vidya is also partial. So knowledge of Brahman is also incomplete. And because the knowledge of Brahman is incomplete, right? Knowledge of Brahman में भी बहुत चीजें हैं ना, omnipotence, omniscience, and there are many this Vedanta Sutra, lot of these virtues are there in Brahman. So without knowledge of Brahman, the merging into Brahman is also impossible. So therefore, this is the idea. Because of their no regards for form, they will not get liberation, right? And not only them, this shloka is there. Ye, I have already read it while reading the purport of Srila Prabhupada ji. But the translation is, O lotus-eyed Lord, although non-devotees who accept severe austerities in finances to achieve the highest position may think themselves liberated, their intelligence is impure. They fall down from their position of imagined superiority because they have no regard for your lotus feet. They have no regard for the lotus feet, which means they have no regard for Lord's form. And so therefore they fall down. So they think that they are liberated, but actually they are not liberated. They don't get even Sayuj Mukti. Okay, so these aparadhis, they don't get anything. And these two shlokas are very important from Bhagavad Gita. Avajananti mam mudha manushim tanum ashritam param bhavam ajananto mam bhuta maheshwaram. Fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature as the supreme lord of all that way. So they don't know that my param bhavam, this my Krishna form, Sachidanand Vigraha, whenever I come as Krishna or Sri Ram or other avatars, they don't know that these forms are Sachidanand, they're eternal forms, transcendental, even more transcendental than Brahman itself. Bhuta also may mean Brahman. Maheshwaram is the Lord of Brahman also. And Brahman is the source of all these material forms eventually, and he is the Lord of Brahman himself. So therefore, his transcendental human form is actually not this material human form. This they don't know. This they don't know. And on account of seeing only the material forms, because we are all used to see only material forms. So whenever Lord also comes in his eternal form, these people, they, because of their utmost conditioning, material conditioning, they they deduce that he also has got a material form. You know, it's like the classic example of the prisoners who suppose sometimes if they are visited by the president of India, let's say president of India visits the prisoner and the prisoners think that he's one among us. He's also one of the inmates. So that's their problem. So fools deride me. So they make fun of me. Deride me means deride does not mean that they laugh. Deride means they kind of demean. They say, how dare they say that his form, which is the Bhuta Maheshwaram, which is even more superior, Parambhavam, which is even more superior to Bhuta, to Brahman, and Brahman itself is the cause of all material forms. Look at their audacity. They reduce that form so terribly to one of our forms, material forms. That form is Parambhavam. Parambhavam means Vishuddha, completely Vishuddha Sattva, right? So Bhagwan is calling them fools. So what do these fools achieve? So in the immediate next shloka, Moghasha Mogha Karmano Mogha Jnana Vichetasaha Rakshasim Asurim Chaiva Prakritim Mohinim Sritaha. Those who are thus bewildered are attracted by demoniac and atheistic views. In their deluded condition, their hopes for liberation, their fruitive activities, and their culture of knowledge are all defeated. So they don't get anything. So Moghasha means, even Prabhupada is saying, if a devotee who does not have regard for Lord's form, right? There are some devotees like Shishupal and Jarasandha and definitely the Mayavadis. They do not have regard for Lord's form. They are devotees only for namesake. They are not devotees actually. So they don't get their desires fulfilled. Then karmano, people who are karmis, they don't get the results of their karma, like they don't get swarga. Okay. And jnana people, these people, they don't get liberation. So that the so-called devotees, they won't get any salokya mukti or any of these things. They won't get it. The karmi people, they won't get the results of their karma. Jnanis, they won't get the results of their jnana, namely merging into impersonal Brahman. So this category who have got no regards for form, they don't get anything. So but then what do they get? Rakshasim Asurim. They get a body of Rakshas. In the next life, they are born in the wombs of Rakshas. Atheistic. Atheist. uh, so demoniac or atheistic class of people. That's their fate in the next life. And the next category is regards for form. This Bhakti Mishrit Gyanis who actually they have regards for form. So what is their fate? So they, in this case, what happens that Bhakti Devi, it produces Vidya, but then this Vidya is is a kind of a hurdle because too much into this discrimination between life and matter, and just this much will not ensure the progress into bhakti. So Vidya is destroyed, which means what? Which means the juice that he was getting, the relishment that he was getting in this Vidya, he starts finding it tasteless. That is the idea. And he starts finding it tasteless. He can understand that this is not enough. I have got to do something more. I have got to achieve something more. The real prayojan is not achieved. What I'm trying to say, that this vidya is not a real prayojan. So the taste for that is destroyed. And bhakti divide of gyan persists and does not disappear. So in the former case, where there was no regard for form, bhakti disappeared and vidya remained. And that vidya was also not the real vidya. In this case, vidya is there, but the taste of vidya is not there. And bhakti does not disappear, because this bhakti is not offensive bhakti, dear devotees. It does not disappear. Okay. But this is, this bhakti is something which is divide of gyan, because bhakti does not have to depend on any gyan or all these things. And realization of Brahman starts ensuing. Now then he starts, uh, yeah, he starts experiencing the realization of Brahman. But now here the risk is there. Here, what should I say? This is where I'm not finding the word. This is where the extreme caution, or the two paths. If the realization of Brahman has started ensuing, then there are two paths. If during this phase, when the realization of Brahman is going on, a chance meeting with a pure devotee happens, then pure bhakti ensues because of mercy, right? So if he has not completed his Brahman realization, but even before that, some pure devotee meets him, uh, such a practitioner, right? Such a Jivan Mukta, and such a person, and he becomes a recipient. He, if he is humble and he becomes a recipient of mercy from that pure devotee, then what will happen? Then pure bhakti will ensue. So the realization of Brahman, he will start finding distaste in that event. He will find tasteless, and he will rather find taste in pure bhakti. But if it does not happen, then so I am hearing something. Is it a signal call? Is it signal for me? Okay, so this is there. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na shochati na kankshati. Samaha sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labhate param. One who is thus transcendently situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments or desires to have anything. He is equally disposed toward every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. So, between this line, in that state, and this last line, he is equally disposed toward every living entity. There is an invisible element, and that invisible element is this mercy from a pure devotee, right? So, that's like a double edged sword. So if this mercy from a pure devotee is not there, and realization of Brahman is going on, then Sayuj Mukti will be achieved. They are completely two different paths, right? And which is despised by devotees. It's like someone, you know, before going to our 10th class, and no, 11th class, when we had to make choice between arts and science, let's say. Uh, in my vision, both are equal. But I'm just give an example. Someone is studying, and before going to before jumping to class 11, someone comes and tells him that science is better, science side is better for you, for Bhaktivedanta Institute. Suppose if he says, actually it is not true, I'm giving as an example only, then such a person will uh, start working for the science side. But if such a person does not come, then he may end up with the art side or commerce, something like this. So therefore, If the chance meeting with a pure devotee does not happen, then he will end up with Sayuj Mukti, and Sayuj Mukti is completely condemned and despised by pure devotees. Otherwise, he will definitely become a pure devotee. So first of all, the chance meeting is rare, and then on top of that, his reception of mercy is also rare. So he, he may be meeting a lot of pure devotees. Pure devotees are not rare, but his submissiveness is rare. He may not submit to them, but if he submits to them, then he himself becomes the recipient of mercy and recipient of pure bhakti also. And that's why, because these two things are rare, the chance meeting is rare, and on top of that, the submissiveness is even rarer. Therefore, Narayan Bhakti is rare, and hence Narayan Parayana are rare. The import and hence the beautiful, very short message of this shloka is, because our submissiveness to pure devotees is extremely rare, one among trillions and trillions, Kotishwapi, therefore Narayan Parayana are very rare. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you for this wonderful and elaborate presentation. Yeah,
Hare Krishna, thank you very much.
if anyone is having any question, they can raise the hand. Okay. Govind Maharaj is having a question. Maharaj, please.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Anupama Maharaj, Hare Krishna.
Very, 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 very thorough explanation. And this gradation, this out of league, that concept was very unique. Because it's a very wonderful perspective. So when Krishna says in 7th chapter, correct? Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschit yatati siddhaye yatatam api siddhanam kaschin mam vetti tattvate yatatam api siddhanam. Even among those who have attained perfection, whatever way one describes perfection, because when Krishna says even among the perfectionists, means those who know some feature of Krishna, maybe Brahma or some aspect of Paramatma within the heart, because yogis, jnanis. And among the perfectionists, Krishna says, rarely one knows me. And towards the end, you just perfectly concluded that the submissiveness to the pure devotee, that may be very rare. It was amazing. But still, how that, so that even among perfectionists, someone rarely knows me. So the possibility is there. Rare, as you said, rare is not.
Yes. Possibility is there.
Yeah, but there is a possibility.
Yes.
And that possibility,
No one is eternally condemned, or there is no eternal damnation. Yes, Maharaji, please continue.
Kaschin mam vetti tattvata. And you also, actually my question, you already revealed the secret that only by surrendering or becoming blessed by a pure devotee, even the so-called perfectionist, he can become infused with the attraction towards Krishna playing the flute. So that rarity, so it becomes rarer and rarer and rarer, but Krishna still leaves the possibility about it. So the question is, when Krishna describes that, yes, among perfectionists, the siddhas, kaschin mam vetti tattvate. So, but Krishna is not necessarily giving us that track, or his purpose is only to establish the rarity of attaining him as he is. Yes. Because the today's sloka is so powerful that you establish the rarity of and out of league. It's not that out of millions of siddhas, one would end up into a pure devotee. It is not like that. That was a beautiful point. But Krishna describes it well among even the Siddhas. Someone really can see, can know me, but there is only the way is to, if he becomes blessed by a pure devotee, correct?
Yes.
So you actually, my question got answered, but second question was, you described the concept. Can you elaborate a little bit? Gyan Mishra Bhakti and Bhakti Mishra Gyan. And in that context, how the concept of Pradhani Bhuda Bhakti, if you can little explain, so that otherwise it could be very confusing for most, including myself.
Okay, I'll give it a try.
What is accepted and what is not accepted? Is karma, is Bhakti Mishra Gyan accepted or Gyan Mishra Bhakti accepted? Acceptable.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Thank you very much, first of all. And so this, I'll just like to make one more insertion. So Narayana Parayana also may mean Narayana Parayana Parayana. So one who is not submissive to the devotees of Narayana, uh, he will not achieve this utmost perfection, the epitome of perfection. Karma Mishrit Bhakti, Bhakti Mishrit Karma, or in our context, Gyan Mishrit Bhakti and Bhakti Mishrit Gyan. So, like we say now that milk mixed with water and water milk mixed with milk. So, what is the difference? The difference is in terms of the quantity. And in milk mixed with water, the milk is more abundant. And whereas water milk mixed with milk, water is more abundant. So milk mixed with water, even though it is not purely milk, it is not 100% milk, but it is still lot better than water mixed with milk. So therefore, in भक्ति मिश्रित ज्ञान में ज्ञान प्रधान है, और भक्ति मिश्रित ज्ञान में, इन भक्ति मिश्रित ज्ञान जो है, ज्ञान इज अ मेजर here. Bhakti is minor, which means bhakti is treated as a limb to gyan. They use bhakti and all these various kriyas of bhakti to facilitate their gyan, to accrue their gyan, to advance in gyan. They use bhakti as a limb, right? And so therefore this is also secondary bhakti, and it is not pradhan bhuta bhakti. Gyan is pradhan here, and bhakti is not pradhan. Bhakti is not primary here. Bhakti is gaun, secondary. And so therefore such bhakti will not give that result, desired result. Like पानी में अगर दूध मिला दिया तो उसका क्या फायदा ज्यादा. Anyways, तो but लेकिन जो ज्ञान मिश्रित भक्ति है, ज्ञान मिश्रित भक्ति मतलब जिसमें ज्ञान is used as a limb to serve bhakti. Their bhakti is primary, Gyan is secondary. Gyan is not the major here. Gyan is not the major goal. Bhakti is the major goal. Gyan is used to serve bhakti, pretty much in the lines of our BI, where we use science to serve bhakti, right? So when the Gyan is used to serve bhakti, right, like Baldev Vidyabhushan ji says, that logic must be used to logic must not be used to conclude anything. Logic must be used to what shall I say, to serve the already concluded thing. Vedanta Sutra is actually already concluded. Srimad Bhagavatam is already concluded. But if the logic is a limb of Gyan, if that is used, or material Gyan, if that is used to serve the element which is already concluded, then this is also counted as bhakti. So the secondary bhakti, which means bhakti mishrit Gyan, the secondary bhakti, it will give only the what do you call this, fruit of Gyan. It will not give you the real fruit of Bhakti. Whereas in Bhakti Mishrit or Gyan Mishrit Bhakti, where Gyan is being used to serve Bhakti, what will happen? Because it is primary Bhakti. Here, he will actually get, he's a Bhakt, he's not a Gyani, and he will actually get the result of Bhakti, and he will get a result of Gyan also. And I exactly don't know what Pradhan Bhuta Bhakti is. As per you, Maharaj, you may throw some light on that concept.
You explained actually, true. Pradhan means the prominence. When the
Yeah.
prominence is a bhakti, then it leads to the real thing, because one may have the proclivity of, through knowledge or detail, like a Balramji, Balramji is a bhakta, but he is sometimes also inclined through detail and many things. But he is bhakta, the Pradhani Bhuta, the prominence is a bhakti. But when the bhakti is used, as you said, that bhakti mishra gyan, then the bhakti becomes gaun, and the primary focus is only on this guni bhuta. That's why guni bhuta bhakti is not bhakti.
Yeah.
So that's why, like same example, if you use, if somebody puts some milk in water, it's still water only. It's not milk. So the Gunibhuta Bhakti cannot be described as Bhakti at all, because the focus is not on devotion to God, but focus is only a ritual kind of thing. Assuming imagination, just do some ritual. Ritual is considered as a Bhakti, So Gunibhuta Bhakti, the Karmi, they are called Karmi or Gyanis or Yogis. They are never called Bhaktas actually.
Yeah. They are not Bhakta.
They are not bhakta. So it is Gunibhuta Bhakti is not accepted by our acharyas as Bhakti.
Yeah.
Because Bhakti ki pradhanta ka abhav hone se उसे Bhakti nahi kaha ja sakta. The prominence has to be of Bhakti. Then only it can be called Bhakti. That's why the very entitled is people say कर्मवान होता है, कोई ज्ञानवान होता है, योगवान होता है. कर्मित्व, ज्ञानित्व और योगित्व. Again, they cannot be called Bhaktitva. So that's why the prominence of bhakti has to be there. And that's why basically I asked this question in relation to the Krishna says the Chaturvidha bhajantimam jana sukriti no. So among these four, Krishna describes them. This is like Pradhani Bhuta Bhakti, because prominence is of bhakti. That's why they approach the Lord. They acknowledge Krishna's position, that Krishna can avoid and reward one whatever it's Karma Mishra Bhakti. The first three categories are like Karma Mishra Bhakti, Pradhani Bhuta Karma.
Yes.
And the fourth one, the Jnani, he could be described as like Gyan Mishra Bhakti.
Yes.
So Mishra still gives the prominence to Bhakti, but whereas Bhakti Mishra Gyan, that is not even Bhakti.
Yes. Thank you, Maharaj.
Beautiful presentation. Actually, it's and could you elaborate once again, because my memory is very that the 11th grade going to science section or the commerce section, that I couldn't get the depth of it, because I fall into that category. That's why I wanted to.
Yeah. First of all, to make perspective clear, I personally and we should personally not see any difference between art and science side, but just to treat as an example, suppose someone is in class 10th or all the way from class 1 to class 10, he has been aspiring for arts side, and so in class 10th we are given
Option.
Yeah, we're given option that and not option, actually based on our performance, how we perform in class 10th. I don't know if it is still there in India, I don't know, but based on our performance
In 9th, in class 9th, or whatever.
In 10th only. So whatever we based on our performance in the science subject, we were given a science side, or we had to, be satisfied with arts. So, but if someone is already preparing with an intention to be an art student, then he will definitely land up being an art student. But even before class, even before the board examination of 10th class, some nice scientist happens to meet him and tells him that I think science is better for you. I would rather become a scientist. I can see a scientist in you, and art side is very nice side, but I think you are better off with a scientist. Be a scientist. So now this person will, and if he is submissive, that is second thing, and he listens to him and he caters to his advices and he prepares hard, then he will definitely get the science side. So similarly, one who is on the path of this realization of Brahman, if the chance meeting with a pure devotee is not happening, then he will definitely end up in Sayuji Mukti. But if the chance meeting with a pure devotee is happening, number one, and number two, if that practitioner is submissive enough, then a wonder will happen, and that wonder is Narayan Parayanata.
Beautiful.
Hare Krishna.
Beautiful. I missed out on that.
Yeah. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaji, and very nice and wonderful discussion. Our Balramji is having a question, it seems. Balramji, please.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandot Pranam.
Hare
Do you hear
Krishna.
me?
Hare
Yeah.
Krishna. Yeah. How are you?
Yeah, very nice. Yeah, very wonderful class. It's very nice. Also, I have a few questions. About this class 10 to 11, I just have a comment. It's about, let's say, what is our supreme goal is, whether we go through, let's say, science side or the art side or commerce side, it doesn't matter. The supreme goal has to be achieved. So this means depending on one's knowledge and other situations, criteria, one can go through science or one can go through arts or commerce, doesn't matter. But I mean, depending on his situation, he can choose one of these paths. So I think these paths are different.
No. So these paths, they are not they are different, and the ends are also different.
No. Then the goal, supreme goal is not the same.
Yeah, that's what I'm
So,
saying. The Sayuj Mukti, one who gets Sayuj Mukti, how can you say that he has got a supreme goal?
There are
yes,
variations in this. I mean, so commonly they can be brought under one roof, but under that roof itself.
No, it's not under the roof. It's not even this
Not
is
in the
completely
league.
separate roof.
Okay.
Sayuj Mukti is not our roof at all. It is roofless. It is not our goal.
Okay, Prabhuji, we'll discuss some other time about that. My question here is, I mean, when in one of the slokas in Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna appears, the people, the mudas, they joke him. So about that, when we see in our gross eye, we see the material stuff. But to see the transcendental form of Krishna, one needs to see through the Jnana Chakyu.
Yes.
Although, I mean, Krishna's body is Divya, but that's also material that we can see through our gross eye. So in this sense, the impersonalists, what they see, what they say is what they see through their gross eye, not the Jnana Chakyu. So, I mean, could you clarify on this? Because, I mean, these are two different things. When we see through our own, the gross eye, then we see the material stuff. We see Krishna also, what the material consists of, consisting of the body of Krishna. But when we see our Jnana Chakyu, we can see the transcendental form. So these are a little bit different. So could you clarify that? What actually means?
Yeah, they are definitely different. They are definitely different, and they are not same.
So that means
The first one is condemned.
impersonalists. Yeah, impersonalists, what they
Yeah,
say.
impersonalist or all the demonic people or all the atheistic people or common people who don't have the Gyan Chakshu on account of their not being submissive to devotees, right? Because this Gyan is definitely means the one has to be submissive to pure devotees. So because of that, they will always see this, they will always see his form as gross material form because of their superimposition, because of the conditioning, right? So therefore, that is condemned. Condemned means because Lord does not have material form. Lord has a beautiful form, Satchidanand Vigraha. But the personalists, the devotees, they realize, they know, they understand, they realize that the Lord has got a form
So
on account of their.
the personalists, they see through both the eyes, the Jnanachakyu as well as the physical gross eyes.
They see their gross eyes only, but their gross eyes are not gross. The gross eyes look gross to us, but they are actually spiritual eyes.
Okay, and in this slide, you
They
said
see the form of Lord even with their eyes closed.
yes, that's what I want to say. Yeah.
For example, I give you an example. The cow. How do we treat cow as? How do you treat cow as our mother, right?
Mother, yeah.
Yeah, but a butcher will treat cow as flesh, as a what do you call, as some
Yes.
Yeah, so they are not same. They are, one is condemned, another is the real one. So why do we see not why don't we see her as flesh? Because our हमारी जो eyes है, हमारा जो consciousness है, वो शुद्ध है, थोड़ा शुद्ध है, right? इसी तरह हमें उसमें माँ नजर आती है. तो यही है, प्योर डिवोटीज का जो चित्त है, वो उनकी आंखों में भी छलकता है.
So here you in this slide, here you have written Vidya, same as Jnana, but those two are different.
Vidya is a product of Gyan, is a product, is a derivative of Gyan. This Vidya actually means that the discernment of spirit and matter. Vidya is actually Gyan only.
No,
but when
Vidya,
I say that Vidya
if
gets
it is not realized, then it will be Vidya only. If it is realized, it becomes Jnana.
the taste for it, you can say, yeah, maybe.
Yeah. So in this case, I mean, it will be a little bit different.
So when I say that Vidya gets destroyed, I don't mean that Vidya gets destroyed. I mean the taste for that Vidya is replaced by a superior taste. That is also.
Okay. Yeah, I have another question about
Do we
this.
have this much time today?
No, probably. Balram sir, maybe we can take it some other time because.
Okay. Yeah, very nice class. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji, for wonderful presentation. Yeah, we can conclude.
So thank you very much, everyone. जय ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, पतित पावन श्रीपाद महाराज की जय, सभी नारायण परायण भक्तों की जय.
नारायण परायण भक्तों की जय.
जय हो, जय हो. All Krishna. Hare Krishna.
His Grace Srikant Prabhu ki jai. Thank you for joining. See you all in tomorrow's class. Hare Krishna.